My name is Cassy Summers. Welcome to the Curious Universe podcast. Welcome everyone to the show. I have a very special guest with me today. Let me introduce you to Dr. Melissa Mahon. Man.
Got it.
Yeah, all right. And I'm so grateful for you coming on and exploring the topic I've been looking at this month is really thriving and having a life of like thrival, not survival, not getting by. And I've loved just kind of seeing what you're creating for content and the person that you kind of exude. Like no matter what's going in your life, you seem to have this like energy of like, okay, cool. What else is possible? And you know, looking at that energy of thrival. So can you let us, I like to hear other people's descriptions. Like how would you even describe thriving to someone?
Wow, I love that. And thank you so much for having me here. And thrival. Wow, what a cool topic. You know, thrival is so much the way that you described it. It's like no matter what is going on in your world, having ease and making ease a priority and the willingness to not be at the effect of anything going on in the world, in this reality, in with the family, or just like all the trauma and drama that comes up in our world, to like the willingness to expand and sort of like be beyond it. And not that like you pull yourself totally out of things, but like from a space of having your own back and knowing that no matter what comes up, you have the tools, you have the space to choose what's true for you. So I think that's what pops the most, is like really having your own back no matter what.
Yes. Wow. So would you say for you, was thrival kind of an energy growing up? Was that kind of like how your family functioned?
No.
Okay. Like, heck no.
In a word, no. No, growing up, my family was really trauma and drama. My parents fought all the time. And there was just always something, right? There was always something going on. My sister was an addict, so there was always drama and like things going on with that. And yeah, my parents fought all the time. My dad was always worried about money. So it was very much something I chose beyond that. And, you know, one of the things that I was very aware of as a kid was like, the minute I turn 18, I'm getting out of here and I'm choosing something different. And I did. And that was one of those things that it took me some time to sort of get beyond it, but I don't really think that I was willing to choose beyond the drama until I found the tools of access consciousness. Yeah. And that's really when it was like, wait a minute, I don't want to do story. I don't want to do like, let me tell you how horrible my life is. That doesn't work for me anymore. And like the willingness to have something so different than what I grew up with has actually been like a massive gift.
Wow. And that having something different, my sense is to have a life of thrival, to be thriving, you have to be willing to have something different. Because it doesn't, I mean, right now it's like, okay, we have all the COVID stuff going on and the economy stuff going on. But, 10 years ago, there was something else going on. And 10 years before that, there was another thing going on. There's always something that people have a really good reason to not be thriving, to be in survival, to be in the drama, the trauma, the story. And we all have our own stories, right? Like, of course, I could build a universe of reasons why I should be suffering. And obviously you could too.
Sure.
So yeah. So you said the tools of access kind of got you to the place where you could go, you know what? I'm having thriving, even if it's completely different? Do you remember like a moment, like a choice, or how that kind of showed up for you?
Yes, there was lots, but I remember that like the first time I was like back with family. So my family lives down in Texas and I live up in Illinois. So like I don't really see them very often. And but there was a time where a couple years back, there was like this whole blow up thing. My mom was in a nursing home. I won't get into the whole story. She recently passed, but she had Alzheimer's for close to 10 years, I would say. And so she was in this nursing home and my siblings came in and my dad and them like started fighting and there was this like drama and I just was space. And I was like, oh, interesting point of view. Let me shut that off. And I was like, oh, this is so like where I would have felt like I had to do something or like I had to fix it, or I had to like go into like the drama with them, or I had to like be the mediator and fix the thing was always sort of my role. And I was like, I'm just going to expand out and have my reality here. And then I asked a question of like, what is going to create the most? So I kind of got my dad out of the situation, but it was from such a different space where I didn't have any anxiety with it. I didn't have any stress. And I was like, I'm literally like watching this as like watching a movie and I'm not in it anymore. And I got home that night and I was like, whoa, like it was like such a different reality. And I had already been using the tools, but like I create my life now as ease. So to be in like a stressful situation again, I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like where there could be that space again of like the stuff you grew up with, right? It's like you go into your parents' house and all of a sudden you're back as like a kid again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is so different. So that's kind of the moment that I was like, oh, I am choosing my reality. This is so different.
Yeah. Okay. I love how you keep talking about choosing your reality. And I've done a lot of shows on that. And I get it's such a conversation that needs to be had because some people don't even get the concept of having their own reality. And so how, for you, how does that play in like choosing your own reality and thriving? Does your own reality, did it naturally have Thrival in it? Did you have to include it? Did you like give the rundown for the people listening, kind of like, what's this reality stuff?
Wow. Yeah. I'm like trying to look at that. Well, it's like the willingness to be different and the willingness to be judged. Where I think for such a long time, I was like really trying to like bend, fold, staple, mutilate myself to not be judged and to be like, to fit in. And, you know, I worked in corporate for a long time. And like, one of the things I was always aware of is like, everybody would come into the office every day and complain about how tired they were, how this drama was going on, how this thing was happening. And I just became really aware of it. And I was like, this is how people connect, is by talking about how like messed up their life is, how unhappy they are, how tired they are, how their husband did this thing that pissed them off. And like, there was always this just like commiserating together.
Yeah.
And I became so aware and I was like, I don't actually desire to choose that. And I'm wrong. Because it's wrong in this reality to be like, I had a great weekend. My husband's awesome. Like everything's going fantastic. Like everyone's like, F you, right? And you come in like having ease.
You use that as a connecting, like I've been that like, like I'm talking, I'm trying to connect with someone on like the greatness of my life. And they see it as like bragging or like competition, whatever. And it's like, no, I'm just so weird. I thought we could talk about what's awesome.
It's amazing. Like, can we talk about possibilities? There's nothing possible. And then you end up in these situations where you're like, I'm so weird. I'm so different because I'm not like, I don't desire that anymore. And so, yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is like the willingness to be judged and the willingness to be different. And and I don't have this mastered by any means. There's still a lot of, using the clearing statement and a lot of being an interesting point of view and a lot of who does this belong to every single day. But it's at least looking at like, okay, what is true here? What can I choose? What choices are available? And am I willing to be judged as different or weird or whatever else, like you said, where people are going to put stuff on you and have it and choose ease anyways, choose thrival anyways.
Yes. Yeah. Would you say for you, like, has it been a muscle to build to be like choosing it and just receiving the judgment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
So much. And it's so easy, especially when you're like around people that you've known forever. Like if you have anybody in your world, whether it's family or like a friend you've had for 20 years or, the people that have like always known you, because it's like they can't find you in space anymore when you can't like not argue, but like talk about like all the icky whatever in this reality with them anymore. Yeah. And so I think that's like where that muscle has come in of like being willing to like, not that I like asking people to leave, but being willing for people to not get me anymore.
Yes. Wow.
And sometimes that results in people leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that can connect you to people that are also interested in thriving. And that's been a new space for me. Like actually like, you like to thrive too? What?
I love that.
You're an alien too?
Yeah, it's so much that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and that's been such a gift, like truly, like finding the people that either the people that have been around my life for a while, I'm like, hey, what are you choosing? Who actually get interested. Yeah. And that's really cool. And also, meeting new people that are like, oh yeah, like I'm not buying into the story and I'm like actually asking to thrive. I'm asking for greater also. And that contributes so much too, when you can like inspire each other, when you can have people in your life that you're like, oh, I love that. Like, I'll have that without an energy of competition, but an energy of like, oh, that's so cool. What would it take to have that too?
Yeah. Well, and that's me, like that dumb blonde going like, oh my God, all these cool things. And I'm thinking we're going to inspire each other. And a tool that I've really found helpful in my interactions with people is what can someone receive? I just had this assumption that everyone could receive everything, and as at least what I could receive, because of that not acknowledging how different we are. And how much does receiving and thriving actually come in hand?
Wow. That's so cool. Thank you for that. It's so true.
Yeah.
Wow. And the willingness for you to receive like what is available and possible, and also like what can other people receive?
Yeah. And if they can't receive Thrival, they would twist it into something like, oh, you're bragging or whatever. And so, what a cool practice to actually like be aware of that and still be the energy. And this is something, Melissa, I noticed about you be an energy of Thrival. Like maybe not necessarily, we've never had a conversation about this before, but I sense this energy of Thrival in your posts and everything that you're doing. And so where we can be this energy in our life. And if someone can't receive the conversation, I don't no longer go, oh my God, and I just published this book and I had this happen. And this happened. They're like, no, can we talk about my problems? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh man, it's so true though. Like really, like, it's funny. I talk to clients about like knowing your audience, but it's the same, like that's sort of like this reality's version of that, right? It's like, what can they receive? Okay. And the willingness to there's something about like being something. So thank you for saying that. Like, first of all, like that's such a beautiful compliment. And like having it, even if you don't have to like say anything, like the willingness to be it and I mean, this comes back to like the conversation of like being you, you know, and it's like the more you're willing to be, like that is an invitation, whether it's in words or like explained, or if it's just something that you be.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And I can see where people can really start to use just even that, what you just gifted them and that energy that you gifted them to start. So if they're like, I actually do talk about all my problems all the time, or I do kind of like find myself addicted to the trauma, but I would like Thrival. Well, how do you even get there? Like one beginning space is just like being the energy, not necessarily like I was always trying to figure it out. Like, I don't know about you. I'm like, if I could figure out the formula, then I'm going to get to the Thrival place because I did it right.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I failed again. But just asking like, what is Thrival to me and being the energy of it.
Yeah.
You could start to be that in your life and see where those choices present themselves of like, okay, I could choose this, which matches Thrival. I could choose this, which matches fitting in, being normal, drama, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much that. And, you know, one of the questions I love to play with is like, universe, show me my reality with whatever that is. So universe, show me my reality with Thrival. And universe, show me my reality. Yeah. Yeah. And show me my reality with receiving. Show me my reality with having all of me. And like the willingness to have all of that show up because we don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like we try to figure out the formula. Like, just tell me the steps. And
we give those coaches, here's the 3-step process to like financial freedom and like do all these things. And I'm not saying that you can't receive. You can receive tons of stuff from these different ways of living in the world. But I find when someone has an answer and I try to apply their answer to my life, it never works. It just doesn't.
No. And it's funny. Before I started Access, I found Access because I had started doing some coaching stuff, external to like my psychotherapy stuff. And that was my biggest like annoyance was like, everything was like, here is the answer on a platter that doesn't work.
Right.
Because it worked for that person. Yeah. So it's like, I figured it out. No, you figured it out for you.
Yeah.
But because you figured it out for you, doesn't mean that now you can apply this to 50 other people and that it'll work for them. Certainly not humanoids. Mm-hmm. So it's like every time I tried to use somebody else's formula, it never worked because being you, having Thrival for you isn't something that has a formula.
Mic drop. Yes. So you have something really cool you've created, this the money party.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the money party? Because not that money equals Thrival, but it's a part of like the computation. So tell us about that group. Tell us what inspired you to create it and what are you noticing with it?
Yeah. And it's interesting. So it's a Facebook group called The Money Party, and I've had it for a while and I've done a lot of different things in it, mostly money related and not always, because so much of everything is about receiving. And so I've done lots of different clearings and 30 by 30 clearings and things like that. But what really inspired me was actually the book, Money Isn't the Problem, You Are. And which is a great book by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane Here. And somewhere in the book, and it's in a number of books, I think, but that was like the first Access book I really read. And Gary's talking about how after his divorce, he had gotten like some like crappy plates and crappy mugs and bowls. And he was like, all the good china had been like stored away. And he was like, why would I not be eating every meal, all of my cereal, everything else I do out of crystal glasses and bowls? And like, why am I waiting for some special occasion to live my life? And what if every day was like a party or a celebration was actually the word he used. Yeah. And I could have that energy in my life every day. So after reading that, I was like, yes, I'm having that. I bought a bunch of crystal glasses, and that's actually how I started the money party. Was like day one was unboxing of my new crystal glasses. And it was so fun, but it was really about the willingness to like have beautiful things, to have things that light your body up, to have like whenever you drink out of a crystal glass, or I love jewelry. So like whenever I would like put on a piece of jewelry that just like lights my body up, it creates this energy of money, of wealth, and of receiving. And it's like you go through the world in a different way, even if it's, drinking your, morning coffee out of a beautiful glass. But like the willingness to have that energy in your life is something that creates greater and actually invites in more money and more wealth and more receiving. So that's where it started. And that was a couple years ago. And now it's whatever it is. I do lots of different things in there around money and the willingness to receive. I've done some business things, and but it's an ongoing group of and I've been asking lately, like, what else would it like to be? Like, what else can I add to it to, invite more of that energy in? So I've been playing with that too lately. So if anybody has any ideas, I'm open to that.
Awesome. Yeah. And we'll put links so people can join the group if they want, and they can contact you. Yeah, that would be so cool. So can you bring thriving and money together for a minute? Like, what are you aware of with that? And right now on this planet with everything that's going on?
Yeah, that. So, oh man. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, if you're willing to thrive, if you're willing to have your life, if you're willing to have ease, if you're willing to have joy, it invites the energy of money in. Money follows joy. So when you're willing to have joy, which is sort of that energy of thrival, when you're willing to like wake up every day and be like, oh, cool, who am I today? What grand and glorious adventures can I have? That is an energy of joy that gets invited every day. And that's where the money shows up, because money will follow wherever you're like doing things that light you up. So it's like, what is so fun for you that would make you money that you have not even acknowledged? And it's also not always linear. Sometimes I will get more like people registering for classes and money coming in from all sorts of places when I haven't looked at my phone in 5 hours because I'm so busy being out like walking or playing with my kids or doing something that's just fun for me. And then like, that's when I'll come back and be like, oh, cool, we got some new registrations. Because it isn't from the like waiting for the pot to boil kind of thing. It's like you're out in your life, enjoying your life, which is thriving.
Yeah.
And that is what invites the energy of money in. And it's so not linear.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. So, people could really look at that. What more joy could I add to my life that matches that thrival? And just that itself invites more money.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've looked at this the last year or so. I really had been asking for like making ease my number one priority. And that has been such a gift. And I've often said, I'm willing to pay for ease. Like if something is, going to be an extra $50, but it's going to create way more ease in my life, I am so much like willing to have that.
Yes.
And yeah.
And
so now, is like also joy. Like, and where have I like, and not that I prioritize ease over joy, but like, what if you could have both? Like, what if it's like having ease and also having fun?
Oh, so, okay. Did you say you're willing to pay for joy?
That too.
Oh, I'm like, is that the words? Because I've never
pay for ease, but that, yeah. Like, how much?
Go ahead.
Well, and how much do we cut ourselves off, like trying to like with money, like trying to have like the least expensive thing, and then we're like,
practical. It should be practical.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's so cool. You just opened up my world to something, because I finally got to that place as well where I'm like, I'm willing to pay for ease. I'm like, someone would be like, this is $50 more. You could get it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's 3 hours to get it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I will pay the $50 for the ease. It's here. I want it now, you know?
Yep.
I didn't used to be that way, but I got that. And I noticed like that when I see money as energy. And so when I'm putting my energy towards something, I'm showing the universe I want more of it. So if I'm putting my energy towards ease, I'm showing the universe I want more ease, you know? But joy is one of those things. It's a non-essential, right? It should be like kind of the last thing on your list, practical, all that stuff. And so cool to look at, like, are you willing to pay for joy? Yeah. Woo.
I love that. I'm like, I'm not sure I said that, but yes, let's do that.
It came out of your head. I know it did.
I love that so much. But what a gift too. Because like, wow, if we're willing to pay for like, if it's the willingness to pay for something is just like where we like try to like keep our lives super small by like pinching pennies and like, oh, I might need that money later, you know? And it's like, plan for the future, but also like, would you be willing to live your life today?
Yeah. And we should wrap up here soon, but that's really that penny pinching. That's that survival, right? And we get into that. And so much of this podcast was about that, being willing to be so different. And so when you're around people penny pinching, people in survival, people so worried about the future, not planning, but worried, consumed, you cannot be in an energy of thrival and survival at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. So really looking at, okay, so maybe I don't like go rack up credit card debt at this time, but am I willing, which is different than choosing, am I willing to spend money on joy? Absolutely. Okay, cool. And see what shows up from that, and to keep going and keep choosing everything that matches thrival will get you to that out of survival, essentially.
Yes. Wow. That's so awesome. Thank you so much for that.
You're so awesome. Thank you. That's a cool conversation. So, okay, if we could end this off on anything, obviously we're going to invite people to more with you. What like right now, if you could say anything about thrival, about money, like any of the stuff that's been coming up, what would you want to like part with here today?
Yeah. Wow. It's really kind of back to that basic of, if you could have anything as your life, what would it be? And are you willing to have that? And really asking. And the other thing that, you know, people do that I've done is when you ask that question, a lot of times we look to everybody else to tell us what we can choose, what's available, and like what would be possible if you're willing to ask, like, what can you choose? And what would you like to have as your life, even if it doesn't match anything you've ever seen before?
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you everyone for joining us. Go hang out with Melissa. You'll have fun. You'll have a party.
Yeah. Come join me. Money party. And we have a bunch of classes coming up. You can find all my stuff on drmelissamann.com. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for exploring the curious universe with me. Your curiosity matters. And what if together we could create a greater, more curious world?